I woke up this morning, smiling at the rising sun. 3 little birds sat by my doorstep. When I was about 13 years old, I went with my family to visit a friend of my father's. In this family, there was a girl who was a few years older than I was. Her name was Tammy. My mother called her wise, which in mom code meant she most certainly was not. Shortly after we arrived at the house, it was clear Tammy was not about to hang around while our parents socialized. Figuring out that the only way she was going to escape this event was to invite me to her friend's house, this is what she did. I gladly went along. Being teens, we sat around and talked about the things many girls that age talk about. Boys, nail polish, the school dance, getting a driver's permit. Being slightly younger, I could barely relate to what they were talking about. In fact, I was probably nothing more than a nuisance. But everyone treated me nicely, especially Tammy. And by the end of the day, we considered each other friends and hoped to see each other again. We didn't live very far apart. I lived in Riverside and she was in Seacon. The only distance between these two towns is about 5 miles, but when you're a child, or from Rhode Island anyway, 5 miles might as well be 20. You are seldom in control of who you will see and who you might be friends with if they lived outside of your school community or town. But Tammy and I were hopeful anyway. I didn't see her again. Most likely, she was too wise for me. A few months after that visit, my mother asked me if I remembered Tammy. Of course I did. At that moment in my adolescent hopefulness, the thought ran through my head that we were going to get to see each other again. Instead, my mother broke the news to me that Tammy was sick. What had started with a trip to the emergency room for a bloody nose that would not stop had been diagnosed as a rare form of childhood leukemia. This girl, someone I knew, and only a few years older than myself, was really sick. And I knew she was probably not going to get better. When I was young, every night before I went to sleep, I would say prayers and have a conversation with God. What I had learned about the world by this time was that if I didn't pray, something terrible might happen. After hearing about Tammy's illness, I remember praying and asking over and over again, why this girl? Why this family? How does this happen? Was it that she had done something wrong? Was it the high-tension power lines that ran through her backyard? Was there something wrong with her family? I spent a lot of time thinking about these things. In the early days of her illness, my mother would give me updates about Tammy. I would hear that she was undergoing a new treatment, or that her mom was saving her birthday cakes until she got better. Things like this. I never was able to visit her. After many months, maybe even a couple of years, I asked my mother how Tammy was doing. She seemed surprised that I had been thinking about her. I found out that although things had gone well at first, and Tammy's cancer had gone into remission, before too long it had come back. Then, as suddenly as it had started, her battle was over. This young woman on the verge of adulthood had died. And still I wondered, why this girl? Why this family? How does this happen? 3 little birds sat by my doorstep. 2 years ago last month, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. It seemed to come out of the blue at the time, although in retrospect, of course, there were signs. When I learned of my diagnosis, I was dumbfounded. In a span of 5 days, I had a colonoscopy, a CAT scan, and a meeting with a surgeon who had the unfortunate job of telling me the state of my health. There was a mass in my colon, which was so big, he was surprised I had been able to eat or pass anything. It had been there so long, the cancer had spread to my liver, which meant I had stage 4 colon cancer. Unlike my reaction of why during my teen years, my first thought was not why me. Instead it was, why not me? Singing a sweet song a melody pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Cancer is a wide range of diseases that will affect 1 in 7 people. 1 in 7. Think about that for a moment. It's more likely you will develop a cancer somewhere in your body in your lifetime than it is that you will be in a car accident, die in a plane crash, drown in a swimming pool, be struck by lightning, or many other wild things we might imagine happening to us. There's a good chance that if you can hear me, you are sitting near someone who has had, currently has, or will develop cancer. I don't mean to be such a downer here, but these are the facts. If you have had cancer, this provides you with a small amount of comfort, as sad as that seems. That is, after you go through the list of things you think you may have done to cause your cancer, and then the list of things you thought you were doing to prevent getting cancer, you realize it can happen to anyone, and it's not necessarily within your control. Fortunately, we live in a time where more people survive cancer than ever before. This is something I think about all the time. Were I born in an earlier era, I would not have survived until my 52nd birthday. Things were really not looking good for me. Yet, here I stand before you, a testament to the amazing things that doctors and medicine can do these days. But I don't believe that my success in survival is due only to the expertise of my doctor. I believe it takes so much more to heal a person. Sing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. When I was going through chemotherapy, my focus was on surviving, on getting through. I wanted to get over this disease and be done with it. I knew I wanted to be here, to see my children, Kaylee, Ayla, and Alex, grow, to see what their lives will become, to grow old with my husband. In those days before I had cancer, I had envisioned a long life for myself. I was sure I was going to live into my 90s like my great-great-grandmother. Easy. Now, a few more years seem like a good goal. Chemotherapy is hard. To say that it's the hardest thing I have ever done would be an understatement. Unless it's something you've lived through, it's hard to imagine. There are many different drugs used to treat cancer, each with their own unique, often difficult side effects, so it's not the same experience for everyone. Except in this one thing, you give it everything you have to stick with it, to make it through. This is your chance, your golden ticket. Not that there are any guarantees that go along with it, except for the promise of a few more days, or months, or years. Time you would not have had if you didn't go through with it. But through that struggle, you gain a focus. The prize at the end of a little more time, it's worth the pain, the nausea, and the racking tiredness. Coming out the other side is invigorating. There's a realization that you've done something incredibly difficult, something, unfortunately, not everyone succeeds at. But here I am. I've made it. I've run the marathon of a lifetime. I know that there's little I cannot do if only I put my mind to it. I've proven this to myself, and I have lived to tell about it. Sing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Besides the amazing medicines I received to cure my cancer, there's something I'm convinced made my recovery possible. I do not credit any higher unseen power for this, although if you said any prayers for me, I'm grateful for your healing thoughts. The community I live in, my village, if you will, is so very responsible for helping me get through my illness. My village intersects in many different ways. There are children and families I care for in my daily job, friends I've known for years, friends from church, some old, some new. There's family by birth and family by choice. It is a village that has been changing and growing my whole life, and it is a lovely, lively place. I'm so grateful for all of the hugs I received, the words of encouragement, gifts, emails, texts, and cards. Love in the form of food, homemade, store-bought, restaurant-delivered, all nourishing for both me and the love of my life, Steve, who also benefited from these kindnesses. All of these things were given with and imbued with love, and every one of these things made a difference. Oh, and did I mention the hugs? All of my life, I wanted to be a good hugger. This is something that seems to run in families, but was not so common in mine growing up. For us, they were often very stiff ordeals, accompanied by a pat on the back and held no longer than necessary. As an adult, I was often too shy to initiate them. And even though I do hug small children on a daily basis, it was difficult for me to be a consistent hugger of adults outside of my family. I had been working on becoming a better hugger for some time now. Somehow, when I was on chemo, I learned how to give and receive the best hugs. It may have been the drugs. They kept me in a constant state of la-la land, also known as being chemo-headed. But whatever it was, I gave and received the most wonderful hugs on a daily basis. I would reach out to reassure people that I was going to be okay, that everything was going to be all right, and somehow those hugs were the proof. They were an exchange of the most awesome amount of love, care, compassion, and kindness, and a boost to my inner strength and well-being. They were constant, appreciated, and oh so necessary. I woke up this morning, smiled at the rising sun. 3 little birds sat by my doorstep. I have for years felt grateful for the community I have here at First Unitarian Church. At first, it was for helping my husband Steve and I raise the 3 amazing and awesome children we have. And I have always felt it is a gift to sit within the walls of this beautiful building, to share joys and sorrows in community with all who come here. I felt tremendous gratitude to be able to teach with the wonderful people who were in the religious education program, and to learn from the beautiful, loving, and kind spirit of the children in our congregation. I have served on committees and learned how our congregation is cared for and operates. My mind has been opened to the new ways of seeing the world and thinking through learning about the people in our congregation, people who I might not ever encounter in my daily life were I not to meet them here. But my gratitude has grown through my cancer journey, gratitude for nourishment of my inner self, for the love, the hugs, the cheerleading, the kindness, and the concern. Singing a sweet song, a melody pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. At this point in my recovery, I live in measured time. How many months to the next scan? Where was I at this time last year? Will I be here next year? Where will I be next year? There are no givens, no guarantees, no promises. These are truths we all live with every day. There is a fragility to life. We all hope that the sun will rise for us in the morning and that we will live to see it set in the evening. These are silent hopes that we each have every day without even thinking about them. But I ask you to consider and think about these other hopes, that through these days we love one another, we reach out and care for each other, and use our good, kind, and hopeful hearts to heal ourselves, those we love, and the world around us. By my door. be awake in the night and hear it, it would pop into my head before, during, and after treatments. I love the message and the visual image of this song, and now it has special meaning for me every day. I invite you to join me and my friend Jane Hesser. You would think this would be the hardest part. Singing it with me. Because I can